Good afternoon, Sabyasachi ji.
Good afternoon, sir.
The knowledge that we all gain is for the humanity and for the whole world. So, with that motivation, we have started, and we are bringing out such interactions and make it available to the community, so that next generation let them plan the career better. So, keeping those factors in mind, thank you very much for willing to spare some time with us. Maybe for the benefit of the audience, I will request you to introduce yourself, and then we can start the discussion.
Thank you, Professor. It's a pleasure to be on your platform and share my knowledge, a little bit of insights that I have gathered over my 2.5 decades of corporate career, spanning across industries. About myself, I'm not a kind of a person who can blow his own trumpet too much, but just a kind of a little bit of overview. I started my career in a pure engineering company. I'm a mechanical engineer, by the way, and I did my MBA. And thereafter, I have done short-term courses from Bangalore and I did Prasanna and from UK as well. So as I said, I started my career in a pure engineering company, which was into the flexible packaging. Then I have changed industries a lot. I have moved to logistics. I have moved to consumer durable. I have been into kind of IT and software, the company as well. And currently, I'm heading a British company as its country manager. As I said, it's been a pretty very decent journey, very exciting, learning a lot, interacting with different kinds of people. So that's it. It's been a very enriching journey for me thus far. And again, I repeat, it's a pleasure to be on your platform and share my insights.
Wonderful, wonderful. So as we discussed earlier over email, see, the major topic on which we would like to have discussion is on industry-academia collaboration. Of course, this is a very important topic which is being continuously discussed across different platforms. And now in the current era of the public perception that the readiness of the manpower that we train in the academic setting, especially from the technology space or professional space, is not what the industry requires readily. Then the recent trends are in terms of where with the latest technology disruption due to artificial intelligence and data science, there are concerns that the amount of manpower that we can employ in industries may go down. So under all these concerns, we can set forward an agenda for our discussion. So that is the background under which we would like to have a discussion for next some time. So especially what I wanted to ask is, to begin with, from my journey of being in academia for about 3 decades, especially in Indian academic setting, the industry-academia collaboration seems to be very minimal. Maybe that is how the ecosystems have been developed. Academia is meant for doing certain things, and industry was meant for doing something. There was no, maybe initially there was no need for interaction among the industry and academia. That is how the verticals have been developed. Of late, there is a need for a stronger collaboration between the two entities. So I would like to know what is your take on this from your rich industrial experience.
Definitely, I'll be happy to share my insights regarding the industry-academia collaboration, if I could use that word. But before proceeding, I just want to put a disclaimer over here. And the disclaimer is that whatever I'm going to talk about are strictly my personal views. And these are no way connected to my current or previous employers. Having that disclaimer in place, I would say that I totally agree with you. There's definitely a strong need to have such kind of a collaboration. And from my point of view, it's an emphatic yes. Regarding this, to have such kind of a collaboration, because it's very crucial to bridge the gap between the theoretical knowledge that the academia kind of imparts to the students and the practical need of the industry. Now, often we see there's a gap between what is taught at the academia or the institutes where the students are studying, and when they come out of the institutes, what they come with the knowledge may not be up to the mark or up to the requirement as the industry might be expecting. So there's still some gap over there. And before I want to proceed on this thought of rather than going to the background, how the future could look like with the closer industry academia kind of a collaboration, I would just like to narrate a small anecdote to emphasize the point that I'm trying to make. And that is this industry academia collaboration. The need for it is nothing new. It has been there since ages. People have been kind of trying to talk to each other, take the best practices from each other, and impart the knowledge that the industry seeks from the academia, and vice versa. It's nothing new. I'll just take you back to 1893. Swami Vivekananda and Jamshedji Tata were traveling from Japan to North America for their individual purposes, and they were traveling on a ship. And They both happened to talk to each other because it was a pretty long journey. And they discussed on many matters related to India, obviously. And there was some kind of a thought that they both felt there's a need to assimilate the scientific and technological fervor with the India's asceticism and the humanism that we all imbibe from generations in the past. And there was a need for to kind of collaborate between these two. And so they discussed about these, and then these thoughts over a period of say 6-7 days, whatever the travel duration was, and they reached the destination and they went on with their own pursuits, whatever they wanted to do. And then almost after 5 years later, when they both came back home, Jamsetji Tata wrote a letter to Swami Vivekananda. This was in 1898. And this incident, by the way, is mentioned on the Tata website. So I just picked it up from there. And Jamsetji Tata wrote a very kind of a poignant letter to Swami Vivekananda and recalling this meeting, and obviously to kind of ask or seek some kind of a support to establish an institute of science. Mind you, in 1898, we're talking of 1898. Swami Vivekananda was a little tied up, so he could not get involved firsthand into this. But Sister Nivedita came on board, and then this institute, which was initially named as Tata Institute of Science, was established in Bangalore, which was later in 1911 renamed as Indian Institute of Science, IISc. Now we all know IIS is one of the premier research institutions in the world. But if you look into the root where it started from, it was basically the kind of a need that was felt between the industry led by Jamsetji Tata and the academia, which was established when they found that there's a kind of a disconnect between the two. And that's how this premier institute was established. So what I'm trying to stress upon, Professor, is this need to get the best knowledge from different resources has been there in India, and the Indian psychology, Indian psyche is such that we always seek the best from the resources that's around us. So there's no kind of a monopoly, if I can use that word, that if I'm in academia, I have all the knowledge, and if you're in industry, you have to listen to me, and vice versa, that industry cannot dictate terms to academia. So the knowledge seeker, or the attitude to seek knowledge from whichever resource is possible, has been there for ages. And coming back to your root point, the start point where you wanted to understand from me what could be the cause, or what could be the trigger to have this industry academia collaboration. I feel this is I would say we are rather late. We should have done this, or this thought should have been there much earlier. But nevertheless, even if it's late, I would say even today it's the right time to get going and involve as many people with as many insights as possible to get this thought proceed in the right way direction. That we both sit together, we spend some time, let's think, let's evaluate, let's understand who can bring what to the table. And I would say this is the perfect time for such kind of a idea generation, or such kind of a collaboration between the two.
Thank you. Those opening remarks, Sabyasachi. So the context, seeing how the engineering education has evolved over the last few decades, the context why I'm bringing this is, especially with IT-related courses making inroads into engineering, the proper engineering training has taken a back seat compared to our traditional engineering like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering. So we gave a lot of emphasis on the laboratories and hands-on, making our hands dirty. That was the most important thing. But with computer science, IT, with latest artificial intelligence and data science, it's more on terminal. So as a result of that, even the laboratory training, what is expected, seems to be of a very minuscule scale. The experience on those laboratory experiments they do will not be of sufficient rigor for making them to be ready to launch themselves on the live projects. Okay, so as a result of these, there seems to be that gap between the readiness of our manpower with traditional industry seems to be widening. That is one part. As if I just compare this engineering education with another professional degree like medical, somebody studies a medical undergraduate degree, the clinical services, visiting the hospitals, becomes a very integral part of their undergraduate program.
Absolutely.
So as a result of that, the hands-on training they get will be of much more value add, and also the latest, whatever the health issues they're cropping up, and they look at the cases, get to learn, and by the time they complete the degree, they have fairly decent knowledge for serious learners about launching themselves onto the health sector. But vis-a-vis, if I consider any IT-related, AI-related engineering program, that seems to be not the case. So that is where it becomes all the more difficult for the industry to take our manpower and say, okay, now you start working on the live project. So that is where I'm thinking this industry-academia collaboration will be need to be discussed in a much more rigorous manner now. Because now since the technology disruption is also happening, it is not possible for industry also to take these people, train for a long duration, and then launch them to live projects. Because by that time, live projects may not, the requirement may not be there, that type of technology. That is where a proper integration between industry and academia may be needed. So that is where, all the more discussion should happen. So, for example, if I take an Indian setting for industry academia linkage, now both of us are now discussing that there is a need for industry academia collaboration that was there for a long time, and it is there now also, and it will be there in future also. So now, by assuming that no, there is a need for this, what is your suggestion on how do we accelerate? Already they're happening at a certain level, but this needs to go in a very accelerated fashion. So starting from the curriculum that we prepare and the industrial relevant live projects experience for the students while they are doing their degree, faculty taking up the research and development projects whose problem statement originates from industry. So that essentially I have a vibrant hands-on experience ecosystem created in academia, which will help to train our next generation while they are studying in the direction what is required in the industry where they are going to move forward. So in that direction, maybe if you have, I request you to share your thoughts in that way.
Definitely, sir. That's a very nice point and very important point. Let me go back a little bit, kind of rewind the clock a little bit to the past. And I totally agree with you that we did lose some precious time. And particularly, this was during the license Raj regime, I would say, if I could use that term. There weren't any compelling reasons, sir, for industry to scale up or to say cutting edge technology as we talk of today, because there was a kind of a broad apathy, I would say, to innovate. So this apathy to innovate or compete with the world, that kind of thought process were not there amongst us. I'm so sorry to say this,
Yes.
but this was the fact of that time. I'm taking you back to 70s or maybe 80s, where there was hardly any drive to innovate or bring up something new or to compete with the world. But please bear in mind, I'm not blaming the academia. Academia like IITs, AIMS, you talked about AIMS just now, or the medical fraternity, and there are plenty other institutes as well. I am not from IIT, but the institute I am from was one of the most premier institutes of that time. So they produced talents which were respected and which were well kind of appreciated by the world over. But they didn't find that kind of availability. I would say there were two reasons why the talent didn't stay in India, or they could not thrive in India. And that was primarily because they were, I would say, the industry were financially incapable, or they were not willing to absorb them at the expectations of the talent that was coming out, and the kind of a career path that they were looking for were probably not possible in the Indian companies at that time. So that was one of the reasons why there was a drift of talent from India to Western world, I would say. But that has changed now. I'm now let me bring you to the reality of today. That has changed now, and the people no more talk of brain drain today. In fact, there's a reverse brain drain that was a topic of discussion some years ago, and people are coming back because there's a lot of exciting opportunities available in India today. So that was one of the realities that we faced. You did talk about the STEM, if I could use that word, the engineering talent. That was the engineering talent that was coming out of Indian institutes. Let me take a kind of a small slide, and I'll use a small slide to present some data of what the engineering talent I'm talking about was available at that time. Just a minute, please. I just request a minute, please. Is it visible, sir?
Yeah. Maybe you can go to the slideshow mode.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible. In the bottom, you can just slightly expand it.
I'm full screen. I'm here full screen on my laptop. It is full screen here.
Okay, here it is not full screen. Maybe you can stop sharing and then do complete screen share. Then it may help.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
I guess. Full screen?
Yes. Now it's coming.
So this is what I was talking about, Professor. Is that the number of graduates that we are churning out? Though this is a slightly old data, this is 2020. But look at the number of the STEM graduates that that's getting produced in India every year: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In 2020, we produced about 2.55 million such graduates. Now this is the second largest number after China, and far more than the entire Western world, I would say. So please bear in mind the number of graduates that we are producing every year. Now, let me go to the second one. Now, sadly, this is the point that you also touched in your thought, is that out of this 2.5 million graduates that's churning out, 1.5 million graduates are engineers, are core engineers. So out of those 2.5 STEM graduates, 1.5 million are engineering graduates. Now, out of those 1.5 million engineers that's available in the job market every year, only 45% meets the industry standard. Now, that's a very sad reflection on the quality of engineers that you talked about. And what do they do then? So there's definitely there's a need and there's an understanding that these graduates are not up to the mark. I'll take one more slide and then I'll elaborate on. Now we have this. This is the data that I collected from the internet, which says that there are 8876 engineering colleges in India, of which 6611 colleges are in the private sector, and 2265 are government establishments. So even if I don't go into the breakup of the private engineering college plus government engineering college, or the comparison between the two, just you take off, say, the 10% of the top engineering colleges, the rest are not up to the mark. Now, what do you do with 8,000 odd engineering colleges that we have in India? Because if you keep in mind, 1.5 million engineers we are churning out, that is 15 lakhs. Out of 15 lakhs, we see 8.5 lakh almost. This is 2024 data. 8.5 lakh engineers are not getting proper employment. So they are unemployed and they are available in the market for job. Whereas if you just look at, say, the guy who's just 12th pass, so 12th pass students are only 32,000 who are seeking jobs versus 8.5 lakh engineering students who are asking for the job in the market. So that's a very sad reflection of the quality of engineers that we are producing. Now, this is another statistic that I just want to touch upon quickly, is that the number of engineers that are graduating out of institutes, only 12% are readily employable. So they get a job on day one, the moment they have the certificate in hand. Further 52% can be made employable by giving them more kind of a vocational training or hands-on training or the company sponsored courses if they want to take someone. So there's 52% more students who could be employed further by giving some kind of a additional training beyond their 4-year course. Okay. And 36%, if you see the red one, the 36% of the pie chart is the scary bit. That's a very scary. It says they are not even trainable, and obviously they won't get a job. Now, this is what I'm very much bothered, Professor. If I could use that term, that what do you do with this 36% of students who are having their degrees in hand, who have spent 4 years of their kind of imagination, what they are willing to do once they have a certificate in hand, and when they hit the reality, when they face the reality, they are being told that you are not good enough. Now, that's a very sad part. It could affect your psyche. It could affect you in an emotional way, and you don't know what the next step the guy can do. And that is what my concern and bother is. And there's a history behind this, sir. I would say the history is that we never kind of brought these two kind of pillars, if I could use that term, the industry and the academia, kind of talk to each other and understand what they are expecting from each other, so that the output that is there in the market, 1.5 million, that's 15 lakh students, which are pure engineering student. I'm discarding the other STEM faculties, the otherwise 2.25 million students I'm going to talk about. So I'm just taking only the pure engineering guys, and even then it causes a concern. I would like to touch on another point, sir, apart from the apathy that I talked about in the past, is the lack of investment in R&D and the enthusiasm. There's a definite kind of a lack of enthusiasm and the investments in R&D. We Indian companies, I have been working with the multinationals of late, but I started my career in a pure engineering company, pure Indian engineering company, let me put it this way. Even then, the amount of investment that you should do or should do to innovate or should do to bring in a culture of R&D is sadly missing in the Indian companies. So that's where I think there should be some kind of a drive that you need to put in onto this. And the third, I would say, is the enthusiasm among the students that you grow by steps. You cannot kind of reach for the corner office overnight. You need to go through the grind. So when you go through the grind, you need to have the hands-on understanding of what the industry expects from you and how you can match the bookish knowledge that you have kind of learned in your 4 years of studies and kind of convert them into reality that the industry is expecting from you. So it has to be a kind of a three-pronged strategy, sir. I would say the industry needs to kind of pull up their socks, the academia needs to come out of the cocoon that they are living in, and the students, they need to be kind of very broad-minded and kind of quickly absorb to the needs of the day. So I would say these are my initial thoughts on this point that you wanted to know from me, sir.
Wonderful, Sabyasachi. Just the way you summarized it was so nice that it's a from a number point of view, we may be telling, no, we are producing so many engineers. If they are not even trainable, you can see the fate of the investments the country has done on them, and also from their personal career point of view. So that's very even though an anecdote is in many of the office positions, if you go, most of them they're doing the administrative jobs, being engineers, trained as well engineers, even to do well-to-do engineering colleges. So some of my friends tell, no, oh, in our office in the administrative cadre, 80% are engineers. They are doing nice job. it pricks me that no, as an engineer, has been trying to do engineering where they're system builders, nation builders. Now they do some administrative thing which is not they've been trained for. Where is the investment is going? So that is where, as you told, no, all the three pillars have to come together. Students have to realize that no, when they have joined the program, they have to do investment of time and learn what is expected out of a professional course. And industry also should talk to academia and see that no, jointly how do we evolve this manpower in so that no, that chart that you showed, that will not become real, no, should go away with the time in future. That is the no sincere hope I have. So moving on, for example, uh, if I take the next generation workforce, no, they are if we treat them as the linkages between industry and academia. Now, what is that training? In the training, we should include for this next generation workforce when they were studying undergraduate programs or graduate programs, so that they have some movement between industry and academia during their studies itself. So as a result of that, they becomes the bondage link between industry and academia, such that no, the industry academia collaboration happens in a much smoother manner than what is expected now. Just I want your comments on that.
So yes, that's definitely there's a massive gap, as I said before, that what the industry expects and what the industry institutes are churning out year after year. If I keep say 10% of the cream, if I those students out, then the rest of the institutes are not providing the students as the industry might be expecting. And there would be, I would say, there are certain points that I think of that could be of interest to you or to the viewers. Is that you need to solve real world problems. Now that's very important. That what you are taught in your book is primarily bookish knowledge, I would say, and they may help you to some extent initially, but thereafter, once you are on your own, you have to come up with real-time solutions, and you cannot say, look, I studied in my civil engineering that there's a river and I have to build a bridge over the river, and this is how my book says I should go and build a bridge. But that's not the way you need to build. You cannot build a bridge based on I'm not discarding the bookish knowledge, but you have to kind of transfer that bookish knowledge into real-time scenario. So the real world problem as you see in front of you has to be juxtaposed with the bookish knowledge. So then only you will be coming to a real-time solution, and that's where you will be able to excel. If you're kind of too bookish and you want to stick to the bookish knowledge, then the real world problems you may not be able to solve. So that's one area I would say that students quickly should understand that their expertise will be required in the real world scenario. The other one I would say is a kind of between industry and academia could be resource optimization. I would say it should be a mutual win-win. What industry is, you talked about funding, resource crunch. That's a given. That's understood. And this is where I think that industry can give you that financial support that academic institutions may be struggling with in terms of grants or in kind of building up better labs, better infrastructure. So industry can pour in that money to the academic institutes, and academic institutes need to kind of give back the return favor to the industry by producing the best quality students that they can think of. So there should be a kind of, as I said, optimization between the two, resource optimization, so that is a mutual win-win. Another area that I think could be of interest is that I wish, and this is my personal thought again, though I said in the disclaimer right at the beginning that whatever I'm talking is are all my personal thoughts, is that the curriculum that our academic institutes are following currently, there's not much, I believe, and I may be wrong again, is that there's not much of input of industry while devising the curriculum. So that is an area I think that could be of interest. If industry joins in and comes in with their own ideas, with their own thoughts, with their own requirements, while the curriculum is being developed, right from first semester to the 8th semester. I'm purely talking of engineering students. Now, how to slowly build in that kind of a momentum that the student, as they progress from first semester to the 8th semester, they get more kind of driven towards the industry requirements. That could be a very good area of collaboration. Another area that I can think of is having kind of a joint research or joint workshop, so that the industry people comes and they shares their ideas, their vision to the students, and the students vice versa once they understand what the industry is expecting. I'll just give you a small example. This is related to agricultural outputs that have increased manifold when the agricultural professors and the agricultural university professors and the teachers, they started visiting the fields, and they started talking to farmers, and then they educated the farmers how the output could be increased manifold if you could go for modern way or modern seeds or modern fertilizers or modern way of doing the agricultural activities that they have been doing, and there has been a drastic change in the output based on that. I come from a kind of from a place in Bengal, which is a purely agricultural area, and that area has developed and progressed really well once this kind of a collaboration and joint interaction between the academia and the farmers started happening, and the farmers understood what they are missing. So that's kind of a hands-on, I would say, interaction between the academia and the industry, or the actual actors. I would say the farmers are the actual actors, actual guys who are producing the output, and how do they kind of brought up to the modern technique and brought up to the level, the way the world is moving at current pace. That gives a very good output. That gives a very good result. So these are the kind of a collaboration that I wish could happen and should happen.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think very good points are touched upon. The first thing is coming to the curriculum itself. See, there was an era, just like in industrial era, you told, no, before license, during the era of license Raj, industry were not thinking of any innovation. No, bring some borrowed technology, just manufacture and sell in the country and make profits. See, in academia also, it was such that as a training, imparting education and training, I don't need to discuss about industry because there is no innovation happening there. As a result of that, the curriculum were all decided in the academic sector.
Right.
So there is no interaction. But of late, when it was realized, there was the norms or rules are put in place in higher education institutions that while you frame the syllabus, you need to involve industry people on the committee. That is as a framework that has been done, but when it goes to the implementation, that take a toss. You bring somebody whom you know. There's nothing wrong in bringing somebody whom do you know, but in an unbiased way, looking at what is industry required. So accordingly, you form the curriculum. So that part somewhere needs to go to the next level. So that also just like a lip serving mechanism. You bring some industry person, he or she spends some time and they suggest some topics to be included. But the whole, suppose if I take one particular subject, the whole syllabus needs to be jointly developed by the industry and academic experts. But that seldom happens. You keep some final topics as some application of that one or something. They should jointly frame, jointly offer the course. So that also seems to has not taken a good shape what is expected. The next part is there's a concept of process of practice where you bring experts like you from industry, come and share your knowledge on the live thing that is happening in the form of full elective courses in the higher semesters, or jointly teach co-teach a course with the academic faculty fraternity. That also is a recent phenomenon, but that also needs to take in letter and spirit. So still with all these great initiatives, so the approach that is curriculum it is being taken is, it is mostly from a rules or regulation framework point of view, things are done, but effectiveness of them needs to be improved to the next level. That is about the curriculum part. And even in the curriculum, we say there is industrial internship. So we want to send them for 6 months industrial internship, because earlier they used to go by 1 month or 2 months or internship, but nothing can be gained much within 1 or 2 months. Industry told 6 months. Now, effectively, if I take an undergrad engineering degrees, most of the students are given about 6 months time to spend in industry. But when we look around and what is happening, that also not happening in the letter and spirit what we are expected. You are supposed to go and spend in time and work on a live project.
Absolutely.
When you work on the live project, the industry can also observe your potential or train on your potential. Then expected that by the end of the semester, you training process, you make an offer to the offer. So that also seems to be taking a back seat, even though the spirit was good. In essence, as you mentioned, the students who are studying the engineering degrees, they should get an insights about the industry, what is happening. They themselves should go and see what is in the interesting sector, what is that, how an industry is running, what are the current problems they are working on, and discussing with the industry experts, what is the skill set they have to develop. With that open mind experience by the student, they come back and request the academic parlance to frame the curriculum to get the required training for them. That may be a back and forth operations if it happens. That may be one of the good things that we may help the undergraduate students while doing the studies in terms of curriculum. The second part is coming to the R&D projects. There is something, the handshake has to happen. That handshake is a missing phenomenon here. So I, as an academician, I also have to go 2 steps further and sit across the industry people and discuss with them that what is the problem they are working on.
Absolutely.
and where is that new innovation is required, where you don't have, as an industry team person, they are busy with their products and process development. So then you discuss, generate a research problem, come back and work jointly with them and see whether a futuristic product or process can be developed. But that is also not happening in the way what is expected. The real industry academia collaboration is both industry and academia people should sit across the table and discuss about the problem, jointly evolve a problem statement and explore together. But that also seems to be not happening in the level what is expected. If somebody, as you, when we in our conversation, you told suppose industry will come and invest in academia, it will invest provided there is some return going back to the industry in terms of training the manpower and even I think recent initiatives also by the government, taking it to the next level where our faculty also should go and spend some in time in industry internship, they say, longer duration. Because as a teacher, even I am not aware of in my area of research how the industry is moving. Then how do I explain my students the practical significance of any topics that I am teaching? So that is where I think a closer handshake needs to happen at an accelerated phase between the industry and academia, where you work for mutual benefit. So that's where the whole next generation will go with a accelerated contribution level. So then, for example, the next point which I wanted to discuss is, I think we have touched upon these points. So with reference to curriculum and all those things I told, now I am worried about our next generation in terms of their career options. With so much faster manner the technology disruption is happening, how do we prepare our next generation such that they become relevant in the decades to come? Why I am telling this point is, earlier era, the technology disruptions are at decade interface, or every decade or 2 decades you see some new technology breakthrough is coming. Now suppose I've been trained and have some experience. With my knowledge and experience, I may be able to survive in the industry for a decade or more than that. But that cycle has come to less than 2-3 years nowadays. So that is where now the subjects that I teach, many of them may not be relevant by the time they complete their degree. If that is the scenario, what is that I should, how I should make my generation ready, such that they will be able to observe these shocks and still become relevant and move on with their career options. So maybe your thoughts on that? Maybe.
Sure. Before I answer that future shock or relevance to the fast changing world, the question of yours, I would just like to appreciate and hats off to your humility, where you said that academia needs to kind of look inwards and they need to understand whatever knowledge they have, is that good enough to be passed on to the next generation? Because the world outside their periphery is changing a lot. So as an academician, sir, you need to also look outside your periphery and go and interact with the industry and see how fast that world has moved. If you stay in a cocoon, as I said initially, the academicians in India, my reading, I may be very generic. I'm not saying you may be an exception. Who wants to see what's happening outside the world? But the people, the teachers of today's, at times I have noticed, are so engrossed with the syllabus, with the examinations, with the paper setting, with the attendance and whatnot, and within the periphery of their institution, that they're not looking at what's happening outside the world, which you rightly said is so very important, that you need to look inwards and say that, am I ready with the times, with the change that's happening in the world? Am I ready to impart that knowledge to the students? If I am not scaling myself up, how can I expect that future generation, which is going to be churned out of this institute, it's a 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, 10 years down the line, are they going to be the kind of a ready resource available for the world? Because the world has moved and I have not moved. So I'm at fault. So I appreciate and hats off to your humility that the academicians also need to look inward. Now let me answer that question of yours that you rightly said. The world is moving at a very fast pace today, and you need to keep evolving as the time change. You cannot say that I am, since I am kind of a head of institute or so and so, I know the entire world, because you may be wrong. Your students may be 2 steps ahead of you at times. And I have no shame in saying this, that my father, who is 80 plus years of age today, operates OTT very fluently, though initially he was not very fluent. But my daughter, who is basically his granddaughter, explain to him how to operate an OTT, how to move from one platform to the other, how to watch movies, cricket on OTT platforms. He was so conversant with the set-top boxes,
Yes.
and then it came as a shock that there's no set-top box now. and how do you operate, how to start the internet, how to move from one to the other. And that's what I say, you need to have an open mind. So the example that I'm giving of my father is because he has an open mind to understand the world is changing very fast. The set-top boxes are no more relevant for his household in Mumbai, and he need to move to the OTT platform to watch a movie, to watch cricket match, whatever you want to see. So that's an example of how the humility that you need to have, that I don't understand everything, I need to learn from the next generation. Now let me share one more slide, sir, with you. This is related to the future that you just talked about, how fast the world is moving and where are we today, and what could be the future generation look forward to in terms of getting employment and the sectors that they need to play on. So just a minute, please. Am I visible, sir?
Yes, yes, very, very well.
So this is a World Economic Forum data that I just picked up, and this is the latest data of 2025. It says which are the sector or which are the jobs that are going to be there in future, and which are the jobs which are going to vanish with a blink of an eye, if I could use that term. So you see data entry jobs, postal service jobs, bank clerks, teller machines, the teller operators, the cashiers, you name it. These are the kinds of jobs which are not going to be there tomorrow. So what do you have? You have big data specializations, fintech graduates, and whatnot, and software side students who are having expertise in AI and machine learning, UI and UX kind of a designers. These are the sectors. I may keep it for some more time so that you can have a look at the kind of jobs that are going to be there, say by 2030, which is just around the corner, and the jobs which are not going to be there tomorrow. So if you are focusing on, say, you want to be a bank cashier, then there's a red signal over there. There's not going to be any more jobs in those sectors. I'll give you one more example. So, we go to the malls, and when we go to park our cars, the car parkings earlier used to have attendants. So attendants used to give you a ticket for parking your car. But nowadays, I'm looking at and I'm seeing that most of these car parking centers and the outlets, they are all automated. So you punch your in time, you get a ticket, you go out. While going out, you pay the amount, and then it's all automated, just like the Western world used to have. So those are the kind of things that's coming to India as well. So what I'm trying to say is that these are the kind of sectors which may have kind of a future, if I could use that word, in days to come. Where should you focus on? What kind of jobs could be of interest to you? So that's what gives you a clear indication where the threat lies. Routine, mundane jobs are not going to be there. Let's be very clear now. So those are going to get replaced by automation and robotics. So people, why should I employ a person who's going to do a repeat job of fixing four bolts and 4 nuts instead of getting it done by an automatic robot who can do fixing up those 4 bolts and 4 nuts at the place day in, day out, 24/7, without asking for any kind of without making any complaints. So why should I employ a person? Instead, I could get it done by automation. So that's a kind of an example that I want to give you. There's another kind of a sector is which could be of concern is believe it or not, AI is going to take over. So quite a lot of activities that we are doing manually these days, or employing people for those kind of activities, can be get done by AI. And these are the sectors, as I just now talked about. Just imagine kind of a video that Sora, which is an AI supported operator, is churning out kind of outputs that they are giving to us today. You may not require kind of actors to do a movie or to do a short video. Sora can generate a short video for you overnight. Just you give a right prompt, and the video could be there for you. So there could be a lot of applications where I think this intrusion of AI or the onslaught of AI, if I could use that word, are going to replace a normal mundane job that people used to do manually. So those are going to get replaced. So you should be very well kind of open to these new kind of thoughts that's coming, and keep yourself ready for the times that's changing fast. So how do you go about that? You have to be attuned with the time tomorrow. So that's what my thought is.
Wonderful, wonderful. So just to summarize this point, when I discuss with my colleagues, I say, as teachers, we have to be lead learners. Okay, we should be leading, seeking the knowledge from the front side. Latest trends as well as what is the industrial requirement, everything. I am aware of that. As a result of that, I go and discuss with experts. If I'm not conversant with certain concepts, you learn all of them, go and teach to the students. And as a result, the teaching profession is a lifelong learning profession. Then only you will stay relevant. Days were gone. No, I am expert in 2 subjects, and with that I'll make my career of 30 years. Those days have gone, especially in the professional era. Even for students also, what is required is, of course, there are a set of non-negotiable core courses, which will mathematical principles and basic programming, data structure. Those things courses are there. But apart from that, when it comes to the advanced level courses, so the way of training should be, they should learn and and when relevant, exploit it. But when the field moves on, they should be able to unlearn which are not relevant and then add on new technology trends, that is relearn. So this is a very important jargon nowadays we use. The art of learning, unlearning, and relearning will keep anybody going forward to absorb the shocks that are coming at regular intervals in the maybe more than expected no interval, smaller interval it may come. But as long as you have been trained in an higher education setting that you are capable of learning, and also you don't attach when not relevant, you unlearn, and then you relearn. So if that mechanism is there, they can stay afloat for a longer time.
Very well, sir.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, sir. This 3-step:
Yes.
learn, unlearn, and then relearn.
Yes.
And whatever is not relevant, discard that,
Yes.
and absorb the new one as the world is rapidly changing. It's so relevant. I totally agree with you.
Correct. So, and no, there is a, so even for example, when I'm imparting the latest trend to my student, suppose being in academia, if I am not still not confident enough, even with repeated training, there is no shame in reaching out to my industry colleague and invite him or her to handle the module such that what is relevant is my products, which are the next generation students who are going out of my institute, should have been trained well. That should be the motto of any of our teaching fraternity. Then only they also will stay relevant and grow in.
Also, I would add, sir, I think there has to be a kind of a drive. Whatever you are doing, it should not, as they say, that it's a kind of a routine job that you are doing day in, day out. So there's no drive in you. Then that's not going to yield result. What I feel is that the drive is of importance. That whatever you're doing, the passion should come from inside you. That this is what I'm just not paid for this, but beyond what I'm paid for, I'm going to do this for my students, for my personal kind of a personal satisfaction. Why not? I get a lot of pleasure in talking to students and talking to learned people like you. So that should come from you naturally, and you cannot make it up. If you're doing a job which is just because of the salary you're doing, that's fine. That I can understand that you're doing this for your salary. But when you're doing something which is beyond your salary, which is coming from your heart, for which there's a drive, inherent drive, I would say. The drive comes from you naturally, and it's understood. One can make out that this person is passionate, whatever he's doing for. So that's what I believe should be of importance.
This is a very, very important, but I think it is true for every profession, but it is all the more important for teaching fraternity, academic fraternity.
Absolutely.
Because the next generation, we are directly impacting on the next.
Exactly. What are you handing over to the next generation? That's so very important, that the next generation that I'm handing over the world to, are they going to be competent enough? Do they understand
definitely.
the roots or the fundamentals?
Correct.
So that's so very important.
Yeah. So otherwise, suppose if you look at the teaching profession, if they're looking only from a salary point of view or some promotions point of view, it's a very flat structure.
Absolutely.
You don't have too many ladders to grow.
Right.
So there is something beyond that, which is for example, if I'm in some other profession, if I'm not performing my duty to that 100% extent, only that product and process may get affected. However, here as a teaching fraternity, I'm directly impacting on the next generation. That is where my responsibility is much more important than any other profession.
Absolutely, 100%.
Maybe that is why our Indian ethos kept the guru at such a highest pedestal after mother and father. Yes. I think that's where the role needs to be realized by all the teaching fraternity.
It's a very noble profession, sir. I just need to add that at times there was a kind of a thought that if you don't get a job, what do? You become a teacher. Correct. Now that's a very wrong concept. That's not the concept to follow. If you don't get a job, that doesn't mean that teaching is the next option for you. Yes. Teaching by itself should be a passion. Yes. Should be a kind of a profession that you want to spend your life in. Yes. It cannot be that I didn't get a job in the industry, so here I'm teaching here, and it's a stopgap thing. Tomorrow, if I get a job, I'll jump over from academics to the industry, because this is just because I need to run my house, I need to earn something. I'm doing this as a profession. I've taken up teaching, but that's a very wrong concept, sir. And there are plenty of people like this, sir.
Yes. No, that. So the another point I wanted to tell, since you mentioned teaching as a noble profession, many of experts like who have spent decades in other professions, once they have reached a certain stage, they would love to come back to the teaching field. And with my experience in IIIT Dharwad for last 1 year, many of my professors of practice, they are so passionate for teaching. And I have no hesitation in accepting many of the classes that have been, or the courses that have been handled by professors of practice, are flocked by more students than being offered by a regular faculty. And that is the very purpose where professors of practice positions have been introduced. I'm quite happy that from my students' point of view, they are getting the best knowledge what they want from these experts. So that is where the role of a teacher comes into picture. So that is where just I wanted to add whatever you mentioned about this noble profession. So one thing is there is these two pillars, industry, academia, and the stakeholders of that. Essentially, the teams that are working in both the verticals should handshake, and ensure that the next generation knowledge is being transferred properly. Now, I would like to request your views on, because when I see your profile, you're trained as an engineer, then moved on to the management discipline, and so here in that framework, how do you see our next generation? We can prepare them for global standards. That's the point I wanted your view on that from your expertise.
Well, it's true. The question is very nice, and it's absolutely true that I'm though an engineer, mechanical engineer. I did my engineering, and in fact, my first job was in a pure core engineering company. And gradually, initially, I used a lot of my engineering knowledge as a kind of a direct application in the job. But slowly, as I kind of moved up the ladder, the engineering applications started slowly fading away, and I moved more into kind of a management side of running the companies that I have been into. And normally the technical route I didn't follow, so I didn't take up the technical kind of a job. I moved and started using more of my managerial skills and management knowledge that I gathered in my MBA and my post MBA studies that I did from different other institutes. So I became more of a kind of a general manager, or generic, and my activities were more into leadership or management, strategic activities. That's where I have been into. But nevertheless, at the same time, I didn't let go of my rudimentary engineering knowledge. So that knowledge has helped me immensely at many times in tricky situations when I felt like I'm stuck. My engineering knowledge, particularly, has helped me, and it has also helped me while when I have been dealing in multi-million-dollar businesses, negotiating with people, talking to different kinds of people. They understood that this person who's on the other side of the table cannot be fooled easily because he has the core engineering knowledge. So that has always helped me a lot. So I'm always kind of extremely happy that I have the core engineering knowledge that has always kind of helped me and stands tall at times of need. Having said that, I would say for future generation, for your students, there could be so many things. I would say the world is going to be very kind of a tough place to survive if you don't have a kind of a unique skill sets that you can bring to the table. So you have to understand that you are going to compete in a global arena. The world it's a global village now, as they say. And whenever you're trying to compete with the best of the world, best of the available talents, you have to be kind of come out of the shell that you have been. If you have been, if you are not, that's very good. But if you are, you have to come up, grow, and steel yourself for the future challenges, because that's going to be of vital importance. I also feel like there are certain areas where Indians by nature, as you rightly said, the Guru Shishya Parampara is a hallmark of ours. Similarly, there are other areas like, I would say, the intense competition that Indian student goes through right from the say sixth or seventh standard onwards. We face intense competition, so competition doesn't kind of shake us, or we don't feel kind of disheartened when we face competition. So when such kind of a person goes into the global arena, I can take my example, and there could be 101 examples, Sundar Pichai, or I would say other stalwarts who have excelled in the global arena. They have themselves acknowledged that this bringing up, this grooming has helped them immensely when they face the global arena and compete with the people around the world. So that's a very kind of a strong advantage that we Indians have while growing up. So that's going to help you. But at the same time, sir, I'll always say for the future generation that there are n number of landmines around you. So you have to be very careful how you nurture and how you direct your career. There could be some hurdles, there could be some pitfalls, but how you take those challenges and move ahead in career is going to help you. So what is important is your self belief, is your inherent strength, your knowledge. Those things are important. And what you need to discard is this thought of shortcuts, this kind of getting everything overnight. These kind of thoughts you need to discard, because success doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. That's what I believe in, and that's what I always try to pass on to the next generation.
Wonderful.
Because these are purely my own thoughts.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, no, since you touched upon that point, it's very, very crucial, because especially in these higher education institutions, even when the students come on the first day, student as well as the parents are very much keen on the salary package where the ward will get placement. And no, and even that is one of the major factors for deciding them to which institution they have to opt for. But if you see the statistics, the job, even if you get the placement, on an average lifetime is about 2 years they survive in that job. They go on, okay, with so much passion, so much, on the day they got that offer with such a fat package or something. But afterwards, within 2 years, they lose the interest on the profession and moves on this way. So keeping that, instead of just a placement. Of course, it's an important entity, but apart from that, preparing themselves for a career, a long career, where they should get the training, inherent training, the process of learning, unlearning, relearning, and also a holistic development of their personality, where apart from their technical skills, their soft skills and leadership skills, emotional quotient, social quotient. So all these things becomes very relevant, especially when they're going on a global platform to take the leadership roles. So that is where the generation also have to realize that factor, coming out of that cocoons of narrow thinking of just a placement. The second point is the academic systems also should create such learning environments for them. They should feel that no, even if I am not making it to yet, whatever the company I was expecting, but still I have enough potential to do well, go out and do well. So that is the thing. So the last point I wanted to touch upon was, of course, we mentioned about the impact of AI earlier. Uh, how do you think, still there is news going around now? We see in the recent media about layoffs that are happening in industries. People are concerned about the AI technology impacting on the ground in the industry. So, how do you feel? Is it a transitory phase, or there is some things are happening in a realistic sense?
So I think AI is going to stay, is here to stay. You just cannot shoo it away. It's definitely going to be there, and it's already impacting, and it's improving in leaps and bounds. The way the development has happened or is happening today, particularly in the AI front, is mind-boggling. Earlier, people used to take months to write a book, but now if you give right prompts, and you won't be able to make out. I write a lot, so I understand this. You can churn out a book in say 15 days time. A pretty decent book can be churned out with the help of AI. But you have to be kind of you need to kind of understand that how much has gone into behind this by a real person vis-a-vis by a machine. So that's just an example, and I would say in any walks of life, you just pick up any sector, any industry, any arena, you will find there's a kind of impact of AI. I talked about creative writing. There's software coding. AI is doing much better and a faster software coding compared to a compared to a human or a person. Space research, driverless taxis, unbelievable. Gene analysis. I can just talk about so many sectors or so many arenas where I come from an industry. I worked with a photographic company before, so I have spent quite a sizable amount of time in the photographic industry. Now, photography is an art, is a passion. You need to spend hours and hours. I have seen myself good photographers spend so much of time, they invest so much of money in getting the right paraphernalia for clicking the best photographs that they can think of. Versus, I would say today, if I give a right prompt to any kind of a AI tool, that can churn out fantastic images that you won't be able to make out if this is real or this is fake. Now, if that is there in today's world in front of you on our face, then it becomes very difficult for us that where is this line going to blur away? Where does the reality ends and where does the kind of imagination or fake creativity comes into the picture? So for that matter, from that point of view, I would say you just cannot shoo away the AI. AI is going to be here forever now. And how well do you use that is only up to you. If you use it for betterment of the society, betterment of the people around you, like just recently, Microsoft launched a chip. I think it's called Majorana 1 or something like that. That chip is mind-boggling. That chip is going to do the computation of, say, I don't know how many millions of computers, that the capability of those many computers versus the single chip that's going to be used is comparable. So that's how much kind of a multiplication of skills of the caliber that's gone into this new chip. So if that is used, and that is used in a proper in a good way, that's going to benefit the whole world and the humanity in a much better way compared to what used to happen earlier when you were using outdated technology. So technology is going to be here forever for sure, and AI is one of the part of it. You have to accept it. You have to take the best out of it, assimilate it as best as possible, get the best output out of it. That's what I would say. And there's no way, you just cannot deny that AI is just a fad. It's going to be not there tomorrow. My belief is it's going to be here for long. It's going to be here forever, I would say.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So, any other final comments you want to give, Sabyasachi?
Final comment, sir. It's been wonderful. I would say it would be a pleasure to take this ahead. We stay in touch with you, with your students. It will be really nice to keep the engagement going, keep talking to each other, to get insights from you, views from you on different topics if need be. Similarly, I would be happy to contribute if need be from my side as best as possible. I enjoyed this. I cherish interacting with other people. And I love this, to be very honest with you.
Wonderful, Sabyasachi. So, for example, now just to summarize what we discussed today, so the overall theme was on industry-academia collaboration. That's where we started, and we discussed about what is happening currently, why these silos are there, especially in Indian setting between industry and academia, what step needs to be taken from both the sides, and also the next generation, the reality they have to be aware of if they want to have a long career. And as a stakeholders, how do we take care of preparing them in terms of starting from the curriculum, giving them exposure during their training program, being a student, and the joint research that can be carried out, and finally the role of teachers, playing in preparing the next generation, and then the ecosystem that will be there jointly by the industry and academia is such that we are preparing not just for immediate placement 2 years job, but for them to go and compete at a global platform and occupy leadership position to steer the whole world in the next generation. So these are the points which I summarized. Maybe if you feel like any missing point, may kindly add. If you feel any of the points.
No, those were pretty, I would say, well summarized, and those are of interest to me. And I think the conversation between two of us triggers more conversation, and people come in with their thoughts and ideas, because we need to be kind of a more kind of, what did I say, open to where are we heading, and what best can we do
Yes.
in our individual capacities, so that the entire society benefits, and the world as a large kind of gets good points out of our conversation, and absorbs them as best as possible.
Thank you, Sabyasachi. Maybe we'll close the session now here. Thank you very much,
Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.